guys, Matt with CJ Off-Road here. Today we're going to be checking out this rough country full width front bumper. Now this front bumper is a super nice bumper that we're going to be installing onto our Gladiator today, and I really do like some of the features that rough country has incorporated into it. The first thing that I like is that they include all of the LEDs that you need, and there are no aftermarket lights that you'll need to put on this if you don't want to. Rough country does include 2 of the flush mount side mounted LEDs, as well as a 20-inch slimline to go right up here on the stinger section. You can utilize your factory LED fog lights, or you can use a ton of different options on our website that use factory style brackets. Now this kit does include everything that you need to get it installed, including these durable D-ring mounts and 2 black D-rings to install on there as well. I really do like the fact that it also includes a 1/4-inch skid plate to go underneath to make sure that your crash bar is protected, especially if you have a Rubicon model. Now, this is going to fit your JL and JT Gladiator from 2018 to 2020, so let's go ahead and get it installed. Alright guys, so we're going to start up front here. We have a factory bumper on our Overland Edition Gladiator. First thing we need to do is pull off this trim panel in between the bumper and the grille. That'll allow us access into the back to some bolts. So we'll get that pulled off with a flathead screwdriver. We'll go underneath and remove the plastic skid plate, and then we can grab a 19mm and pull this bumper off. Just go ahead and pull the center section off first, and then go underneath, and you'll just pull up, and they'll pull out just like that. After you have those lower 2 pulled off, there's going to be 5 along the front of the bumper we need to pull off. Going to do the exact same thing. Just use your flathead, get underneath the centerpiece, pop that out. Then we can pull the cover right up and out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and grab a 19mm deep socket and go ahead and remove the 4 nuts on each side. Once we have those removed, the bumper will come off. You can't really see them because of the way that they are, but if you reach behind that plastic cover we just removed, there's 2 on the inside and 2 on the outside of each frame rail, so 8 in total. Go ahead and get those pulled off, and then we can pull the bumper off. There's also 2 more bolts you have to remove on the lower plastic skid plate. They require an 8mm socket. There's 1 on each side. Once again, not too easy to see, especially from the angle that we're at, but they are under there. Just grab yourself an 8mm socket and pull them off. Go ahead and use a 16mm socket. Let's pull off these lower skid plate bolts. There's going to be 1 on either side. Then you can remove your lower factory skid plate. There is some assembly required. We do have the rough country lights installed into their brackets and the bumper flipped over here on the ground. And once you have them in the brackets, what you're going to do is set them into place like so. You'll see that there are already 2 nutserts on here, and then you're going to use 1 bolt up top. Now these lights do come with 4 included bolts. They're in the same package with the lights, so you really can't lose those. But then what you're going to do is grab these black Allen key bolts with the lock washer and the lock nut already on there. So they're completely on there, they can't come off, and that's what we're going to use into the nutserts. And then for this outside one, we're going to use a stainless steel Allen key bolt with the flat washer behind there, and then a nut on the back side. It's kind of a lot to put in here, but we want to make sure that those lights stay put. I will also mention that if you are installing your LED fog lights, that's the time you're going to want to use that bracket. You can tell it's a different bracket because of the way it's designed on the back side of it, and it won't accept the squares. So basically what you're going to do is use the exact same hardware, just grab the nuts for them. So you're going to put 3 on there depending on what fog light you have, and then you can install those, and they'll simply plug back in when you reinstall it. We opted to go with the rough country lights just simply because we love LED lights here, and I think it gives a more finished look. It also includes a nice Allen key here, that way you can get these tightened up. You don't have to be crazy tight because it is a nutsert on the back there. Just enough to hold it and make sure it stays in place. You don't have to tighten these too much because they are nutserts. Just get them pretty secure, as we don't want to lose our lights going down the highway. So the next step is to install the mounting brackets that Rough Country includes. I really like this setup because it incorporates both a nut and a bolt. What you're going to want to do is go on to the driver's side, and you just stick that through the bottom. It'll sit like that. And then they even include these little plastic pieces. So these are just going to slip over the threads. You can push them right down and then kind of thread them on. and that'll hold that into place there. So that's not a bad idea. I'm actually pretty impressed by that. And then the opposite side, what we're gonna do is make the stud at the top. So if you're going towards the center, it'll be down low, and out towards the outside, it'll be towards the top. So same thing on there. It's gonna hold them, and then we'll do it on the other side. So while it's off the vehicle, I found it would be easiest to show you guys what to do on the back side here with the light bar. Now we are looking at this from the back of the bumper, so it will be a little bit different if you do this when the bumper's on. What you're gonna do is grab your 20-inch slimline light bar, as well as one of these spacers. And what the spacers are gonna do is actually space this out on the inside. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap, sorry to make the noise there, a little bit of a gap from left to right. So what these spacers will do, it will take up that space, and then we will put the bolt in through it. So it's gonna be a little bit tricky to do, but if you're just a little bit patient with it, you can get it done there. So now we're gonna put the spacer on the other side here, and just make sure you put both bolts in, get them tightened up, and you can make a final adjustment when it's on the Jeep. So Brendan came over from the truck studio and is gonna help me set this on. All you have to do is align the studs. So you're gonna install all the bolts and nuts and get them tightened down with an 18mm socket and box wrench. Once again, guys, it was kind of hard for me to show you, but being that you saw the backside, it's pretty much the exact same as just threading them in and, you know, putting a nut on there. Just line it up and kind of slot them on. So the skid plate brackets go on exactly like this. They're gonna go on the inside of the frame rail with the bracket facing towards the outside. You have a bolt and a washer slid through the inside of your frame horn, and then you're gonna go ahead and grab a flange nut. And I like to get these tightened down, but not all the way tight, simply because you do wanna have some adjustment in there when you're mounting that skid plate all the way on. So we used the help of an extra hand just to hold this thing up, but honestly what you need to do is get all the hardware, throw your washers on, and just slowly get it bolted up around the edge of the skid plate. Then once we're all done, we're gonna go and first tighten up the brackets that we first put on, and we'll go around and tighten everything down, wire up the lights, and our install's done. Now the 20-inch is the only thing that you'll have to run if you do use factory fog lights. However, if you opt for the rough country fog lights like we did, because they are bright and they look good, you're gonna have to run 2 harnesses. If you don't have any Mopar switches or any other switch system in your vehicle, these do include switches to run inside the cab and get them all hooked up. The only thing you need to do is hook a positive and negative to the battery and simply run a few wires. Since we do have the Mopar factory switches in our Jeep, we are just gonna modify these harnesses and plug them right into our factory switches, which are fused and ready to go with the vehicle. Now, like I said before, we aren't going to show you the wiring, but it is pretty simple. Just run some things inside the cab if you need to use these switches, or hook them up to your Mopar auxiliary harness. If you want to check out the Mopar auxiliary harness and trigger systems and many other switch systems, be sure to check out our YouTube page, as we have a ton of installs on those. And if you're going to start doing lights like this and other accessories, I highly recommend getting one of those. But I think the next stop for this Jeep is going to be a nice winch on the front, and to see that, you have to stay tuned to our CJ Off-Road YouTube page. Till next time, guys, I'll see you out on the trail. Hope you enjoyed that video. To stay up to date on our CJ Off-Road videos, make sure to subscribe up top here, and for any other installs, make sure to click the link right above.